Sanders Barbaras. Again, sorry if I mispronounced it.
Hello, my name is Sanders Fabre. As a former student of the Art Institute, I am one of millions of students who have now been victimized by bad actors in for-profit higher education. But they are more than that, simply bad actors. They are con artists, crony capitalists, corporate criminals. They have deceived and exploited the students and taxpayers of this nation, and the recent EDMC settlement illustrated there is nobody in Washington either willing or able to truly hold them accountable for it. I find it impossible to believe that Mr. Duncan's rhetoric that you are cracking down on these institutions to protect the students and taxpayers when you are considering an individualized review process, not including FFEL loans and enforcing a statute of limitations. Each month, my wife and I pay over $1,000 toward our debts from the Art Institute for degrees and a program that proved to be absolutely worthless. Degrees from school that lied to us about its legitimacy. We live paycheck to paycheck, and up to this point, we have been paying our debt solely in the hopes of preserving our credit score. But for what? With this debt over our heads, we will never be able to afford a new house, a new car, many of the things that having good credit can afford you. So I ask you, what reason do we have, when you so clearly are not acting in the best interests of students that we were defrauded, to not go on a debt strike? I don't want to go too much in my personal story, but I need you to understand we are examples of trying to do everything by the book, paying in good faith. Our loans were originally a combined amount of $103,000. To this date, we have paid almost $100,000. Due to the high interest rates, we will still have to pay $158,000 towards these loans before they are paid off in 2036. We will be in our late 50s, most likely with very little savings for retirement, all for a degree from a school that lied to us, a degree that is widely deemed to be absolutely worthless and we never profited from. Why should we and others like us not join in debt strike when doing so seems to be the only action which gains your attention? To continue complying with a system that supports fraud, that continues to create new victims, seems wrong. To continue to pay so much each month for degrees which are worthless, degrees that we now know to be the product of fraud, does not seem logical. I graduated in 2006, and although I considered the education there to be severely lacking, I had never heard of anyone suing a school. You just get through it, enter into the downturn economy, and use your subpar training to try to find a great job despite it. Even if I did try to sue within 2 years after, please show me cases where students sued for-profits through arbitration and won. Can you count them on one hand? To enforce the statute of limitations on those victimized seems wrong. I simply do not understand how an individualized process for debt cancellation is even being considered. I refuse to see how anyone should have to pay back any debt that was a result of attending a fraudulent school. This debt is the product of corrupt organizations lying to the public and exploiting taxpayers. It should be discharged immediately for all those that they made victims of. Fraud is fraud. Individual cancellation would be grossly unfair to the student victims, since it would require them to again place their trust in a system which has already failed them. Why should we truly trust, that you have our best interests in mind when you have been allowing this to go on for so long, profiting off the debt yourselves? How do you expect people who are already deep in debt to finance decent counsel to represent them? The only thing that you could possibly do to reestablish any sort of trust would be to discharge all debt that was created by attending these schools. The Art Institute, ITT Tech, the University of Phoenix, DeVry, Westwood, Everest, too many schools to mention in the time allotted. How many more lawsuits and investigations must be conducted? How many more citizens of this country will be allowed to be exploited and deceived before someone actually stands up and has the guts to do something decisive about it? So I guess the real question is, who do you really serve? If it is the citizens and students of the United States of America, then I ask, what is their trust worth to you? Are you willing to take steps that may not be the easiest steps, but steps that would bring justice to millions of students like myself? Thank you.